It was there yesterday, waiting patiently on the handle of your garden fork. But this morning, the garden is just quiet. You wait, you watch, but your robin does not show up. And deep down, you start to wonder if you did something wrong. The truth is, you probably did, because research suggests that robins rarely abandon a good territory by accident. To a creature that weighs less than a handful of leaves, trust can be incredibly fragile. And a single innocent decision on your part is often enough to break it completely. But the good news is, you can get him back if you can begin to understand how he views your garden. The first mistake often happens when you simply decide to tidy up. You see an overgrown hedge or a messy pile of logs, and you decide to clear it away. To you, the garden just looks neater. But to your robin, you have dismantled the fortress he relied on to survive. Studies indicate that robins hold a highly detailed mental map of your garden. This map took him weeks of careful observation to build. Many shadows, branches, and patches of bare soil may become part of that memory. When we look at our backyard, we see decorative plants and borders. But a robin sees a complex network of survival routes. That tangled hedge in the corner is not just an overgrown bush. It is a protective canopy where he can safely digest his meal. The old wooden fence is not just a boundary. It is a strategic vantage point where he can scan the soil for movement. The handle of your garden fork is a stepping stone. The space beneath the bird feeder is an emergency shelter. Every single object is connected by invisible lines of flight. He seems to know how long it takes to dart from the fence to the feeder, and from the feeder to the hedge. He has often mapped the distance his tiny wings need to carry him if a shadow suddenly sweeps across the grass. This map can become his lifeline. It may be one of the things standing between him and the predators above. So when you decide to do some heavy pruning on a Sunday afternoon, you are not just trimming leaves. You are altering the geography of his survival. A missing branch means a longer flight time across open space. A relocated bird bath means a new, untested landing zone. To a tiny bird, the unknown is always treated as a threat. The garden he trusted yesterday is gone, replaced by a landscape that suddenly feels foreign and full of hidden dangers. He returns, sees the landscape has changed, and suddenly the garden feels exposed and dangerous. He may not have abandoned you completely. He is often just waiting for the map to make sense again. But even if you leave every leaf untouched, you might be making the second mistake just by walking outside. This involves what researchers call fear calibration. Your resident robin appears to spend weeks watching you. He appears to calculate how close he can safely get to your specific shape and movement. Maybe it is 6 feet. Maybe it is 3 feet. It is an invisible line of trust drawn on the grass. And the mistake usually happens when we get impatient. Imagine you are sitting on the patio, holding a handful of dried mealworms. Your robin hops down from the fence. He pauses, tilting his head to look at you with one dark eye. He takes a tentative hop forward, then another. He has done this a dozen times before, but today, the lighting is perfect. You want to capture this magical moment to show your friends. Without thinking, you quickly raise your smartphone, or perhaps you decide to step just a fraction closer, eager to bridge the gap between human and wild nature. In that split second, the rules of your relationship changed. Your robin does not understand cameras, and he does not understand affection. He only understands predictability. For weeks, he has learned that you are a slow, gentle giant who stays firmly in one spot. He has calibrated his fear response specifically to your usual routine. When you make a sudden movement, or when you cross the invisible boundary he has drawn, his survival instinct overrides his hunger. The trust you spent weeks building can be damaged in an instant. The giant has broken the contract, and instinct tells him that an unpredictable giant is a dangerous one. And that brings us to the most common mistake of all, one that is done entirely out of love. You wanted him to have the best dining experience, so you moved his feeding dish out into the open lawn, where he has plenty of space and where you can watch him clearly from the window. But moving the food away from cover can be a critical error. Robins appear to assess predator risk constantly. A feeding station exposed in the middle of a lawn is essentially a dinner plate for a sparrowhawk. Your robin wants the food, he really does, but he looks at that open space. He calculates the distance to the nearest hiding spot, and instinct tells him his life is worth more than a mealworm. He did not reject your gift, he just could not risk dying to accept it. But what if you did not move the food, and you did not step closer? The answer might be what you are wearing. A robin's trust appears to be built on one thing above all else: predictability. They are creatures of deep, rhythmic habit. They can come to expect you at a certain time of day, doing a certain type of work. Research suggests they can even recognize the specific color of the coat you usually wear. If you suddenly change your routine, or if you wear a bright, flapping rain jacket instead of your old green sweater, you reset the clock on his recognition. He does not see his old friend anymore. He sees a new, unpredictable shape moving in his territory. And until he can study this new person from a safe distance, he will stay hidden. So, if you have made one of these mistakes, if your garden is suddenly quiet, how do you apologize to a bird? The answer requires something most humans struggle with: patience. You cannot force a wild bird to forgive you. When we realize we have made a mistake, our human instinct is to immediately try and fix it. We feel guilty looking at the empty garden fork, so we start taking desperate measures. We might scatter huge mounds of mealworms all over the patio, hoping the sheer volume of food will tempt him back. Or worse, we might catch a glimpse of him hiding deep inside the ivy, and we decide to walk over there. We peer into the bushes, making soft whistling noises, trying to coax him out. We might even hold out our hand and stand near his hiding spot, waiting for him to surrender. But to a wild bird, these actions do not look like an apology. They look like a hunt. In the animal kingdom, only predators relentlessly pursue their targets. When you follow him, you are acting very much like a hunting cat. When you stare into the bushes, your forward-facing eyes trigger his deepest evolutionary alarms. By trying too hard to show you are friendly, you are actually confirming his worst fears. You are proving that you are intensely focused on him, and that makes you incredibly dangerous. Instead, you must re-establish the baseline. Go back to the familiar routine you had before. Put the feeder back near the protective cover of the hedge. Wear the jacket he knows. Leave a small offering of dried mealworms on his favorite post, and then walk away. Do not stand there staring at him. Turn your back and go about your gardening. This is the testing phase. He will be watching you from a hidden branch, judging your every move. You have to prove that the quiet, gentle gardener he remembers is back. Give him the space to watch you from high up in the canopy. Let him see that the giant has returned to being peaceful and predictable. It might take 3 days. It might take a week. But one morning, you will hear that familiar, sharp sound. And you will look down, and there he will be, waiting on the handle of your fork, ready to start again. But while you wait for him to return, there might be something else in your garden that needs your attention. Because some of the most beautiful plants we grow are secretly poisoning the birds we love. Click the video on your screen to find out what they are, and I will see you there.